How's it going, guys? It's Cole from See-Through Panel showing off The Hunting Party by Enki, Bilal, and Pierre, Christin, published by Humanoids, retailing for $17 US. On the back here, very striking. Oversized a little bit, doesn't fit exactly into frame. It is the first book I've read by Enki Bilal, and I will definitely be reading more. That's a spoiler for the haul video this month. Before I get too ahead of myself, if you're worried about getting spoiled, the book's from 1983, but if you're worried about getting spoiled, read it first, come back. I'm going to talk about the plot points very roughly, very briefly, and I'm going to talk about the art. So read it first if you're really worried about that sort of thing. This, as I said, is my first time reading an Enki Bilal work, but I am very familiar with his art just from looking into him as an artist and looking at his other books. I really, really enjoy his style. It's got that kind of Mobius flair to it, but it's a lot grittier, I think. There's a lot of texture to it, hyper detailed. I love the way he colors. I'm pretty sure he's coloring himself. I couldn't find any indication that there was a colorist. And I do love the painterly style on the colors in some spots. Other spots it's a lot more flat, but there is a lot of depth to the art. Layout-wise, pretty standard European. They do the text boxes of European albums often have like really giant word balloons and the square rectangular boxes. It's very standard, honestly. It doesn't blow me away, but it is very effective at storytelling. In terms of writing, this is going to be a rough one for me to talk about because I'm not a historian, nor do I have a lot of interest in that sort of thing. I don't know a lot about the Soviet Union in 1983, which is when this book was both written and when the story takes place, I believe. So for me, this book was very dense. There's a lot of talk of the political standings of the Soviet Union in this era and the past happenings of how we got here and what drove these people. The cast is pretty much entirely political figures at one end or the other of the spectrum, and to understand what drives them and their motivations and things is very difficult if you're not aware of a lot of the stuff that I'm not aware of. So I did end up looking up a lot of stuff while I read this. I will say, while it was like work, I guess it's not really work, but you know what I mean. It did take me out of it for a second, but coming back in with that information really added to the story, so I would recommend. Although most stories, if they're confusing, you can just keep reading and understand things. This is not that really. You kind of have to know or understand the historical aspects of the story. So we are following a translator who's recently been assigned to translate a hunting party led by like the top dog, ex-soldier, political figure, very well respected in the Soviet Union, meeting in, I think, Poland. The translator's French. He's coming from an outside perspective, but is very sympathetic towards the politics of the Soviet Union, I'll say. So he is among like minds. And the pretty much intro third of this story is just backstory for all of our characters, what drives them. The main, not really a big bad, but kind of the figurehead of the Soviet Union is this character here who is in a neck brace. See if I can get a better angle. So he's paralyzed only from the neck up, I believe. So his face is always in this exact same expression, which is very interesting because the character appears so stoic, but I can't tell if that's because of the very cold and calculating things we've learned about him and how he turns a person who's very close to him into the government, or if that's just because his facial expression is locked. I'm sure it's a little bit of both, but it does make for an interesting character because he doesn't talk, he just has this expression, and you're getting a ton of backstory and people telling stories about him when he's standing right next to him. And it just makes for a very interesting character, I think, and it works really well. Obviously, I'm not the first choice as a reader for this because I had to learn a lot of things anew. If you're aware of these things, I think it's going to be much more interesting, at least off the bat for you. And then once we've assembled our characters and kind of learned all we need to know about the backstory of the whole cast, we get to the actual hunting party. I should show off a little bit more of this art because inside, a lot of this happens out in the snow, and the inside just has a little bit different color palette. Enki Bilal, I feel like I talk a lot about this exact style, which is just my preferred style of just like the classic European Mobius, Bilal, and I can't think of Lucky Luke, but I mean, it's just something I'm really fond of, and I really like the painterly effect on this bird. The watercolory colors there. Definitely is a very beautiful book. I have noticed, looking at art from his other books, some of his faces are a bit samey, and they're just a bunch of like old white guys with similar haircuts. So at some points I got a little mixed up, and all their names are very like similar to me because I'm just not aware of their naming conventions or any differentiation. But it is something you can definitely get past, especially if you're a little bit more aware than I am. Definitely, this book made me it humbled me. I'm not as smart as I thought I was as a reader. That's a very cool effect of like the ghost of him in the background in his younger self. And a lot of the European artists sign like almost every page, which is kind of cool, I think. I like to see the signatures at the bottom. Mobius did that a lot for panels he was really proud of, it looks like. And I think actually that's what Bilal is doing here, because he doesn't sign every page, but he signs this really, really affecting panel. Going out into the hunting party, we start to learn that some of these political figures kind of are a little bit falling out of love with the Soviet Union, and there starts to become a divide you can see in the way people are thinking. And that's all I'll say in terms of plot. This is gonna be kind of a short one, because getting too deep into it will really change how you view the reading of it, and I don't want to affect anyone's reading of it in any way. But I will flip a little bit through some more of it. See some more, maybe some action scenes. Not really an action book. It's more just, it's intrigue, and it's definitely political intrigue, and just a slight bit of violence and implied violence and things like that. If you're a history buff, you'll like this a lot. I really enjoyed the book, but I really just can't say, I've said it a lot in this video, I can't say I'm really the preferred audience. I did enjoy it enough that I want to read more Enki Bilal, but I'm also curious to see about his more fiction. Like, this is fiction, but it's historical fiction. I want to see more of the fantastical stuff. That's just what I've always been into. I'm really, really bad at reading nonfiction and historical fiction. But this was very good. Good enough for me to be interested to read the entire thing and read more Bilal, so that's definitely praise. I know a lot of my friends who would enjoy this kind of story more than I would, definitely. Get a lot more out of it. I do get a lot out of the art, though. A lot of my time was spent on Wikipedia, but probably equal or more time was spent looking at these panels because I really, really love his style. Pierre Christian as a writer, it's a weird thing to review a book like this in terms of storytelling because he does make a convincing plot. I will say the first third of it is a little bit text heavy, just a lot of descriptions and things, but in terms of characterization and this is a crazy panel, by the way. Characterization and just storytelling and structure, very good. He is drawing from a lot of real-world conflict and ideas, which probably makes it a little more digestible. I really did enjoy the story, though. I love when he gets all metaphoric and kind of dreamy with some of these panels. This is just weird and crazy. But that's pretty much all I have to say. I definitely really enjoy it. I have this bookmark in, so there's one singular page I can't show because of nudity. But yeah, I really enjoy this book. I'm going to be reading more Bilal. I'm going to start with the Nikopol trilogy. Just the whole hardcover I got. That's a spoiler, I guess, for the upcoming haul video, but you've made it this far, so I'm going to be reading that next. I'm really excited. Right now I'm working on Heracles by Edouard Kerr, and I'm really excited to wrap that up. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. If you've read this and maybe know more about it than I did, let me know in the comments. I thought it was really cool, but I definitely missed a lot of stuff, and I would benefit from a reread. So thanks, guys. Peace.